Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you in the video. All right, so listening to Nick Wright and these guys, they got me thinking about Donovan Mitchell suitors and teams that he could go to, and all of these different things. Obviously, of course, if you've been following me, you know I think Donovan Mitchell should want to stay in Utah after all, because I think if he goes anywhere else, there's a chance his star power gets diluted. If you listen to the trade offers and the value that he holds, he's valued as a star, because that's what he's been for the Utah Jazz. But his prototype as a player is not something that is as rare as you often find with players who make the money that he makes and is found with the cachet that he has. It's his unique point of view being the second star or even the first option in some situations with the Utah Jazz, to where you see him as a superstar. But once you get him out in the field and you start measuring him up with other shooting guards, you're going to find out that he is a really good star level player with a lot of tangibles and a lot of clutch ability, and he's a dog. It's not like he's not standing out amongst those guys, but he's amongst those guys. He's not above them. He's not Steph Curry. He's not Dame Lillard. You know what I'm saying? And so, but he has that type of cachet. So I think once he leaves Utah, that's going to be exposed. And I think it's going to be a situation where it's going to be interesting to see where he actually fits, because a lot of these places that he's rumored to go, I don't think he makes these teams better. The thing about Donovan Mitchell is he's an offensive player. So a team like Miami, they need an offensive player like him to kind of provide the type of stuff that they were missing. But what you're going to find is now you're going to plug him in to get 30-plus minutes, which means he's going to be on the floor to be more so of a defensive liability than normal, because you were using more defensive two-way players than you would be now with him having more of a centerpiece role on your team. You're not bringing Donovan Mitchell in to play 30 minutes. You're bringing him in to play 38 minutes. So that means you have his strengths and his weaknesses on the floor at the same time, and you got to deal with that. So, like hearing people talk about sending him to Memphis. You send him to Memphis, they are a team full of two-way players. Talking about trading him for Jaren Jackson. You're removing the best defensive piece from the Memphis Grizzlies, and you're bringing in a offensive guard. You're removing all sides from their lineup, their defense, their best defensive piece. And you're bringing in a guy who doesn't play defense, who's looking to score the ball just like Ja Morant. Yeah, you're going to have a couple extra open court highlights that's going to be really fun. But now you got a logjam rotation at guard with him and Brooks, Bain, assuming you're keeping all these people unless you're trading him for Donovan Mitchell, which would be completely and utterly ill-advised. So it's like, I don't know that he's better than Bain, yo. I don't know that I'm not taking Donovan Mitchell over Bain based on Bain's ability to play both sides of the floor and stretch the floor at a consistent rate. Now, do I trust Donovan Mitchell? Yes. When I have him in a situation like he was in, to be the #1 scorer in isolated ISO situations, to break people down and tear them up with his ability to be streaky and his ability to be consistent scoring with consistent rhythmic looks. Once you take away those looks, is he going to be as consistent of a scorer when he's not guaranteed 15, 16 shots a game? When he's in a situation with a timeshare with other guys who are looking to do some of the similar things that he has, that he does without the defensive talent of a Rudy Gobert down there, for which he's never played without. I just think a lot of what Donovan Mitchell has been masked. He's been the only athletic player on the team that he's been on pretty much all the time he's been there. It's just been him and Jordan Clarkson in terms of guards that can actually jump around. Everybody else is pretty much stiff on the whole team. So once you put him in a situation where everybody's an athlete around him, or you start throwing him out there in the field where you're trying to compare, let's see who you'd rather have between him or Tyrese Maxey, him and De'Aaron Fox, him. These questions aren't as easily as answered as what his name would dictate they are. When you start measuring him up against Tyrese Maxey, they're talking about, for example, trading him to Philly for Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey. Fam, I'm not even sure I'd rather have him over Tyrese Maxey. Throwing in Tobias Harris, that's a no-go, right? But he definitely demands that type of price tag based on his value in this league as the star of a team. So this is where it becomes tricky for him. This is why I think he should stay in Utah, because as long as he's there, his value's going to stay that high. Once he starts going to places like Miami, if he starts jumping around to places, if you put him on the Houston Rockets right now where they got 7, 8, 9 different athletes just like him, where he ain't even the craziest athlete on the team, you're going to see exactly what Donovan Mitchell's worth is in this league. He's a star. But he's paid and he's looked at as a superstar. And he's going to be traded as a superstar. And so I think that's a mistake. I just simply think it's a mistake. I think he's a fantastic player. Like I said, he's a proven playoff performer. What he did against Jamal Murray is not something we've forgotten about. That was real life. Incredible greatness right there. So he has incredible greatness. But his weaknesses, once you plug him into certain situations with certain teams that are contenders looking to win, that keep two-way players on the floor, Boston, for example, you replace Jaylen Brown with Donovan Mitchell, that team gets worse defensively. It's just the truth. So for me, in Donovan Mitchell's case, where I want to see him go is places like Brooklyn, Utah, places where you can keep that same value, where it's not going to fluctuate if he goes there, where he's still the man, where his value can still be cloaked by the circumstance of that. Bring him the pieces that he needs, players that help him be himself, so he can have those magic moments down the stretch, which I think he could be at his best for. Clutch moments where he could knock you off just like Dame, just like Kyrie, just like these players like that, Steph. And then let him thrive. But you got to supplement his weaknesses just like any other player. You got to make sure you have what he needs on the floor. And when you're building around a guard, we know that's hard. It's hard to win with a guard. You got to give them bigs. You got to have your centerpiece be somebody above the at least 6'7", I think. You know what I mean? You need those players around Donovan Mitchell. So who's gonna put him in the right situation to succeed while maintaining his value? That's my question. Who's going to trade so much for him and then realize what it is that I just said? It's just the truth about Utah's assets. Both Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. They're overinflated by the way that they were presented by the team itself. I cannot stress it enough. And so it's not a bad thing at all. It's actually a plus if you're thinking about what it means to be looking for teams to go play for. Your value is going to be increased by Utah. Somehow they made Rudy Gobert look like he was something he wasn't. Made Donovan Mitchell look inflated. So, hey, I would look at them as a team I'd want to go to be honest with you. They got all the cap space. If I don't mind cold weather, I like the snow and all that, and the mountains and all of that. It's a good place to play, in my opinion, going forward. They're going to fix their situation. And I think the first step now is trading Donovan Mitchell. But we'll see where he lands, man. I don't like the Memphis situation. I don't think he makes them better, depending on what they give up for him. I don't mind Miami as much, just depending on what they're giving up. As long as they keep Bam, keep Jimmy, maybe sign Patrick Beverly. If they can have that type of dynamic around him, it'd be cool. But if you think for 1 second that you're going to remove defensive players or bigs, defensive bigs, and replace them with Donovan Mitchell and pair him up with, say, John Morant, and think that's going to make the Memphis Grizzlies better, believe you me, they will not. They will be worse. Just like I don't like the experiment in Atlanta with DeJounte and Trey. I hate that experiment. I would like this one even less, because at least DeJounte's not looking to score as much and Trey's not looking to defend as much. They can play off one another. You put Donovan next to Ja, those are two bad defenders. I'm sorry, Ja. You're not a good defender, bro. You're not. And neither is Donovan. In fact, these are two bad defenders together in the backcourt together looking to take shots from one another. That is a disaster. Absolute disaster waiting to happen. So, do not do that. Think Portland. CJ and Dame, that's why it didn't work. Great offensive players. Play a lick of D. You got to have defensive players in place. So, that is what it is. That's what I think, man. It's what I think. It's another reason why I didn't like the Brooklyn Nets situation when they were trying to put James Harden and Kyrie Irving in the backcourt together. Not enough defense, man. Not enough defense. That was the problem. Their bigs weren't strong enough. KD wasn't the old defender he was in Golden State and OKC at that time. It wasn't enough D. So, that's where I'm at. I think the best spot for Donovan Mitchell, if he's leaving the Utah Jazz, is probably a place like Brooklyn, where he can still be himself. But Miami ain't the worst. They have the defensive players to make it make sense. I don't know if they could. They just did a deal with the Timberwolves, but I actually don't think removing D'Angelo Russell and maybe another couple players from the Timberwolves and putting Donovan Mitchell up there to reunite with Rudy Gobert is the worst thing in the world, if at all possible, although it's probably not. But I'm just thinking about places where he wouldn't suck. Remove D'Angelo Russell, bring in Donovan Mitchell, and you're happy. You got an upgrade there. So that's the type of situation I'd like to see him go to. Yeah. Team like Cleveland with ridiculous amounts of interior rim protection. Yeah. OKC, insane amounts of rim protection. Josh Giddey right there. Maybe swap him out for SGA, although I love SGA as a player. But like that situation, for example, for Donovan Mitchell, that's good for him. So like that's what I want to see him do. I want to see him land in that type of situation. Because if you send him to one of these super contenders and then you throw him on the floor for 40 minutes, his defensive deficiencies are going to be glaring, I believe. I just believe that. And if he's not a consistent scorer, if he's not consistently hitting open jumpers and that kind of thing, he's going to get frustrated with the lack of consistency in his attempts, I believe. If they're not absolutely winning and look like they're about to turn into a champion. If he has to sit on a 7th seed team and on some nights he's not getting his looks, that's going to get ugly quick. So, yeah, man, that's why I think he should stay in Utah, man. He should just stay right there if they will have him. And if they won't have him, then we move on. But, yeah, if he wants to get out of there, look for Brooklyn. I would want to go to Brooklyn. I would. The whole dynamic with him and Ben Simmons having a Rookie of the Year that same year, the whole situation, I would love to see them on the same team. I wanted to see it then. Spider and Ben together. The timeline obviously matches. They're in New York. He's from New York. I know a lot of people are talking about the Knicks. They're not a bad spot as well. We'll get into that right now. But I think the Brooklyn Nets are a good spot. So let's move on to the Knicks. I like them now. Why? Quentin Grimes. Quentin Grimes' value has increased. He looked great last night or throughout these last time the Knicks played. I guess it was last night or the night before. But he had a good game, which means he's ready to step out. He's hitting threes, and he's profiled as a lockdown defender, which means it's an excellent trade piece. Excellent trade piece, or he allows you to move on from other guards and start to believe in him. So if I'm the Knicks, now I have something that I think is a lot more valuable in my possession than it was last time I tried to make a trade with anyone. Obi Toppin holds more value now. Most people are aware of Emmanuel Quickley's upside and believe he can help somebody. So you look at the pieces the Knicks have and you say they aren't where they were 2 years ago in terms of their asset collection. Their asset collection looks great right now, and I would be very happy to make a trade with the New York Knicks if I'm a team looking to make a deal with a big time contract. So if I'm the Knicks, you know what I mean? I'm looking at my situation. I'm saying maybe I can shake all this up. Now that I have a nice little collection of assets, I look somewhat like the Lakers looked before they traded for Anthony Davis. I could kind of take these handful of players along with Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, everything I got, and I could build something if I want to. I can make a trade for Kevin Durant right now with the Brooklyn Nets. If I'm the Knicks, I believe. And maybe that didn't seem possible a couple weeks ago, but the way their youngsters look and the upside that they provide from this point, if teams are valuing young players like they are, it's a good time to go snatch those players away from New York. Simple as that. If you're the Brooklyn Nets, it's not the worst place in the world to send Kevin Durant if you're looking for pieces that you can use to build. I really do believe that. Snatch up quickly, Grimes, Barrett, Randle, depending on the contracts. I don't know if you want Randle's contract, but, you know, they have talent now. There's something to snatch from them. So that is huge. That is massive for that team. And look, moving on from quickly, Toppin might be the move, because if you can't move Randle, Toppin is super valuable in my opinion. Based on what the easy buckets he can get, what the lob threat that he is, his length, the speed that he plays with, ability to shoot the three. No, he's not a defensive player necessarily, but since he's on such a rookie contract, you do have a player stepped ahead of him right now. It might be the way to go if you're not going to pay him. You might want to move on from Obi, because I think he is an extremely valuable piece that can help you get better right now if you attach him to something, whatever. So that's just something I'm thinking about. And the opposite thought is, if you're a team out there, understand that Obi Toppin is somebody you should probably be targeting right now before he becomes too expensive to get. Because at the end of the day, the Knicks do have a situation where Julius Randle's in place. Those players don't fit with one another, in my opinion, and they're in each other's way. So it's like simple as that. They are in each other's way, in my opinion. Obi's gonna have to be able to get his own front court as a power forward, match him up with somebody who's extremely good defensively. Hell, he would be a perfect person to match up with Rudy Gobert, in my opinion. Even though that situation's already set in stone, I think that would have been a great fit in the backcourt because he don't play D. He does stretch the floor. He is faster, that kind of thing. He would help in other areas that Rudy doesn't. So that's neither here nor there. The point is, yeah, go get him before he becomes too expensive because the Knicks can't use him properly. So that is my thought there. So much going on in the NBA, even though nothing's actually happening. We talked about LeBron James and the La Familia thing at the corner of his Twitter handle, and then the various situations where we've seen Kyrie Irving place a Instagram post up, and then from there Phil Handy commented La Familia underneath that. So that's the big story going on in Lakerland is the camaraderie starting to form around those players, and so we're excited about that here. I think Donovan Mitchell could be a player that helps facilitate Kyrie to LA somehow by triggering a move. Maybe that can trigger a move that can ultimately land us the player we're looking to have. So that's why all of this is relevant. I do believe if we see Donovan Mitchell traded to the right spot, we could see a domino fall where maybe KD gets moved after that, or in that deal. I think we could definitely see Donovan Mitchell and KD traded together. It makes sense from a number standpoint that you do that. And then don't forget, everyone, please do not forget, Colin Sexton is still available. He is a free agent, and he's holding out, and he's laying low for a reason. And I don't think it's because he doesn't have suitors. He is trying to strategize a way to get somewhere, and I don't know where that is. But he could be very disruptive if he lands in the wrong spot. So keep an eye on the young bull. He's healthy. He's got 30 points to give, and that's going to be a problem for anybody who picks him up. Or rather, for any team that he goes to, he's going to be a problem for the teams that face that team. So keep an eye on the young bull. He's a needle mover. A free agent, and I don't think Cleveland's bringing him back. I don't think they have the money to. So, yeah, keep an eye on that dude. Talk about young players that you want to see a part of your young core. Young bull. Don't look too far from him. And, of course, as we look at Ayton, keep an eye on him in Indiana. They've been flirting with each other for the last week or so, and I think that something could be done there. Maybe he signs an offer sheet. Maybe we see a trade very soon because of the presence of him being able to sign an offer sheet with the Pacers. So I think if anything happens, I think the first domino to probably fall, if I'm guessing, is Ayton. I think we see something there because at the end of the day, Phoenix is on the clock. If they don't find a way to move him, they lose him. So that pressure is now applied to Brooklyn because, of course, that is a piece that they can use to help move KD. So Donovan Mitchell, KD, DeAndre Ayton, I could see that being the framework of a 3-team deal. I honestly can. Although they would probably in turn bring in a 4th team for a landing spot for one of those players that would definitely not be going to Utah. So that's how I see that kind of going. But yeah, those players, it's logical that they move together. So also, Bam Adebayo. I don't think Miami should let go of Bam Adebayo for nothing, man. I was listening to people talk about that. I know he struggled offensively, but it's still early for Bam. He's still one of the best defensive players in the league, and you do have to deal with Giannis. You do have to deal with Victor, who's on the way. You do have to deal with Gobert, Towns. You do have to deal with what Cleveland has in the interior. It goes on and on and on. OKC, you need size if you're Miami. And, guys like Robert Williams, even the ones that are not of cachet, they still are ridiculously long. Guys like Siakam and Boucher, every night, Bam and Carter. Not Bam, but Bamba and Carter. Every single night, you got to deal with length. So if you're the Heat and you say move Bam out and bring in Donovan Mitchell, guess what you don't have? Anybody to guard those people. You know, Joel's going to be coming through four times a year. You got to see this man. If Bam ain't there, I don't know how you guard him. And I feel the same way about Phoenix. I don't know how you're going to guard these bigs, man. You're sending Ayton out. You didn't value him. You valued CP3, the old guy, over young, big. I don't know what's going on with that. But my question is, even if you bring in Kevin Durant, you've also lost JaVale McGee. Who is guarding these bigs? Who's going to deal with Anthony Davis? Like, I don't understand what Phoenix thinks is going to happen there. So that's why I really think KD needs to snatch that team off his list, because, yeah, it's going to be real nice playing with Booker, CP3, but as I said about the other fit that I was saying, that doesn't work, bro. It's not enough defense with that backcourt. You can't leave yourself with a backcourt of players that don't play D and then have a front court of players that are not very talented. And that's exactly what he's signing up for. Yeah, you and Booker and CP3 are going to be able to carve people up offensively, but they're going to be hitting you right back with scoring because you ain't going to be able to get stops. So I think the fit is trash, and I want to extend that opinion to the wide world so that no one's surprised if it fails, because it doesn't have enough defense attached to it, in my opinion. So he needs to snatch that team off his list. Anyway, yeah, Ayton, hopefully he lands in a situation where they can pay him, and ultimately he can show people that he is in fact worth the money that he's not getting. Because I think it's, I don't know. I don't think I studied Ayton enough to know if I would say he deserves that amount of money, but what I can say is I believe he's the best conditioned pure center in the game. And I'm not thinking about Giannis. Best conditioned pure center in the game. I think that he runs the floor as well as anyone. He's about as durable as anyone. And with the exception of the mistakes that he's made off the court, he's had him suspended for half a season, which I know Phoenix is looking at. He's somebody that you can rely upon to stay healthy and rebound the ball well and ultimately help you win. It's not a coincidence that they've had so much success since he's developed. I mean, and you don't know what they look like without him. So I'm pretty sure we're going to find out that they're not as good. Even though they don't value him as a superstar, I do think they should value him more so than they do. And letting him go could potentially be a backbreaker for their franchise. So we'll see how it plays out, man. We'll see how it plays out. I know Mikal Bridges is a hell of a player. They're dangling him around as well as if he doesn't hold value, entering his name in these trade rumors. And I just don't know if Phoenix really understands how the value of having such durable players. Like, especially when they're young. There should be nothing Phoenix is trying to do but to retain what they have and maybe replace Chris Paul with someone younger. That's literally all they should be doing. All this other stuff they're trying to be ambitious about, I'm not feeling it. Saving money for what? You know, if your team is winning, it's going to garner the money you needed to make. It's going to make back the money you're losing in the luxury tax anyway, if you're winning championships. Now, obviously, you never give yourself a chance to win a championship, so you don't actually know that. But that's what would actually happen if you just invest properly in your team and let them actually win something. So, I don't know, man. Bad teams stay bad for a reason. Phoenix has been a bad team for a long time, and I think it's because of stuff like this. So, it does frustrate me a bit, but that's why they've never won. So, it is what it is, man. Back to the dumps they go, in my opinion, unless they find a way to land KD. Sorry, Devin Booker. I like him as a player to no end, but I don't think he should have stayed there. I do not. And Chris Paul, man, he did what he's supposed to do. You get that bag. If they're going to give it to you, it's his last hurrah. They want to pay him like he's 23 years old. I'm going to take that money. I'm 36, whatever age. Take that. So it is what it is, man. I ain't mad at him or Dame or Bradley. None of those guys. Until these teams figure out what they should be doing, let them continue to pay you. So that is what I got to say, man. That is the gist of my thought. I'm going to go get my clothes out of the dryer and listen to this, of course, and then provide you some more content likely when something else pops up. My name is BDL44. Thank you all for watching. I'm out.